Hey, nice. All right. Hey, so we're Denzel, and we're going to do our first little mini podcast, I guess, or little video interview. And today we're really just going to talk about how we got started with mentorship and kind of the value that we got from mentorship, because both myself and Denzel got mentors in real estate. So yeah, I guess we'll start with the question is so, how did you get started in real estate, and what was your experience with mentorship in real estate, Denzel?
So how I got started in real estate was basically reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was about 21 years old, and I was in a little bit of a, I guess you could say, like a dark place in my life. And I really felt like I needed to figure out sort of how all this money stuff works. And yeah, so I read that book, and basically that book asks you to choose or kind of paint a picture between stocks and real estate. And I just kind of like the idea of real estate a bit more than stocks. Yeah, and then basically I just did a lot of learning on my own about how real estate works. And then, yeah, that's sort of how I got into it. And then what was the other question there?
Other question was, I guess after you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, did you already get started in real estate, or did you like seek out a mentor beforehand?
Yeah, so I did a lot of self-learning initially. And so I didn't really get a mentor actually until after I already had bought my first deal. I had like mentors to sort of talk a bit about sort of what it's like to be in real estate. But when your network is limited when you're first starting out, it's really tough to kind of find out kind of who you should be listening to and who is actually doing things. So yeah, I basically bought like my first place. It was a duplex, 5% down. And after that, I spent like 9 months fixing that up, and that was sort of my entry into sort of the construction side of things when it comes to real estate. But during that period of me fixing it up, I kind of like was like, okay, so I'm gonna do one deal and then I'm gonna not do a deal for 5 years, and it just didn't really make sense. And so that is when I finally reached out to a friend of mine who had a mentor and who had done some wholesales and stuff like that through a guy named Manjeet. I'm pretty sure you know him. Um, and yeah, basically having Manjeet, well, first of all, him and I got on a call, and I kind of just told him what my goals were. And then from there, it just kind of turned into, well, I have a consulting program that can help you learn about how to raise money and put together the legal aspects of joint ventures. And yeah, that's essentially sort of how I got started in finding that mentor initially.
Neat. Yeah, I guess we had pretty similar beginnings. As like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad too, and yeah, I remember in that book, it's like, oh, you got to find someone in the city that you're in that actually does real estate. And then yeah, for me, it was like I just put on Facebook like, hey, does anyone actually do real estate in Winnipeg? I'd like to take you out for lunch, and then yeah, it's kind of how I met my first mentor too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I remember your first deal. I was like looking like because my first deal I didn't have to do any renovations because I was like a little fearful of doing renos. Like you said, I didn't really have much construction experience. And yeah, I remember going to your place. I'm like, holy, this is a pretty big deal. Like you're doing reno a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I met so during that time I also met David. He's the realtor that we both use. And he has a shout out to our boy David. But he has another partner or a few partners that kind of have a lot of real estate, and those guys have been a big part of just sort of my growth too, in regards to just understanding what it's like to be a landlord and a little bit more of the high level stuff, um, just in terms of like how you should approach different investments and asset classes within real estate. Like, how there's the commercial, there's multifamily, then there's single family, right? So that's been super helpful too, just kind of, I guess making decisions. It's helped me make decisions this year, especially. And yeah, I think during that time, I during the time of me fixing my place, it wasn't until midway through where I was like, holy smokes, this is a lot bigger job than I expected it to be. You know, I was ripping out walls, I was ripping out like subfloor on the upper level, and I could see downstairs, and I was like, holy smokes, like I had no team in place at the time. It was literally just my girlfriend's dad and an uncle who was helping me out. So yeah, it was definitely a little scary, but I think it needs to be that way.
Yeah, first one's always scary. I remember closing on the first one. I didn't, like I mentioned, I didn't have to do renovations, but then right when I'd signed the documents, like I already did some training, just like free seminars in the city and stuff. But then right when I signed like the offer to purchase OTP, I was like, holy crap, like I don't know what to do next. Like, how do you get tenants? How do you like screen people? Didn't know any of that marketing stuff. That's where I got like my first mentorship. It was with Go Get It Real Estate at the time. And wasn't really like one-on-one coaching like I would have gotten later on, but it was more like they gave me the whole package, because for me what I was looking for was like systems and paperwork, because I mean I'm trained as a teacher, so we don't really learn about like the ins and outs of like the legal and all the paperwork that you got to do for real estate. So I was like, oh, I gotta probably get some stuff that's already pre-made. So I was basically just paying for paperwork, and then yeah, learning with you had like monthly meetings where you learn a little bit more about real estate. I mean, because most of us, when we think about real estate or first hear about real estate, it's just like buy and hold rental property, right? Just like, yeah, like you said, put money in, wait 5 years, and then buy another one. And then in this training, like you learn that you can get an infinite return by borrowing money. And I was like, crazy. It took months for me to understand what the BRRRR strategy was. And we'll probably go on that into like another video, because that's something you and I do. Pretty much that's our bread and butter, right? Like,
Yeah,
most
100%.
we've done have been BRRRR strategies. And yeah, like similar to you, I'd done my first deal and then got into mentor after. My mentor ended up being Nelson Camp, and how that really worked out was, I mean, he was a teacher too for many years. So I really was looking for someone, not just a mentor for real estate, but also someone that was like basically living a life that I wanted to kind of emulate. So like this guy was a teacher, already did his career in teaching for many years, and then transitioned to real estate full time eventually. And then one thing I also liked about this guy was that like he was a good person and was an awesome dad. Got to spend a lot of time with his family. That's something that I want to kind of build in the future. And yeah, the mentorship, I found a lot of value in it, just because like when things get difficult in real estate, like, yeah, you can kind of go to friends for support, but not everyone knows what that feels like to run into those issues of real estate. Because
Oh man, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, you run into those issues and you're just like, holy crap, like I don't have no idea what's going on. So it helped to just be able to text someone and be like, hey, like what do I do here?
Yeah.
Suggestions. I think that's where a lot of the value comes from in real estate coaching. And also they can kind of help you plan like ahead.
Yeah.
Just because like, yeah, in the beginning you'd be like, oh yeah, I'll do like a little deal here and there. And then later on, once you start to understand like how to raise capital, which is huge, something that we basically do like every day now, and how to like market yourself and find those deals. After a certain point, you're just like, oh, I don't have to wait 5 years per deal. I can just try to do as much that I can in like a short amount of time. Because I think I learned this from you basically, because I mean, you had a bunch of deals and I was like, oh, this is totally possible. That's kind of what motivated me to do a bunch of deals too. It's kind of like that competitive, collaborative concept where it's like we're not really competing against each other, but it's like we're training together to basically reach those goals. So yeah, once you did like a bunch of deals, like, oh, it's totally possible to do like 10 in a year.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Like the amount of work is the same, it's just you're just shortening the timelines basically.
kind of like just getting over the heavy lifting, because I mean, and I know that I'm sort of getting a little bit off topic here, and we said that we would speak about this on another time, but for me, buying a lot of properties in the early stages of sort of my investing career, I think really allows me to have a solid foundation in just the wealth building aspect, kind of gets the ball rolling or the clock's ticking on several homes or several properties. And you at the end of 3 to 4 years from today, like both you and I will be in a pretty decent equity position just with our portfolios alone, right? And then further to that, like there's going to be a bunch of opportunities where where we'll be able to flip a house and make some money there. And there's just real estate's just great, and I'm really happy that I got in, and I met like a bunch of cool guys like yourself and Dave. But yeah,
totally. Like, really grateful that we got into this now. I think we were talking about this the other day, about we got in at almost like the perfect time where like things shut down. We have to go through like doing deals during a pandemic. So like if it was normal times, it would have been difficult. I wouldn't take that away from that, but doing that during a pandemic was just like a little bit more difficult.
yeah,
It's just like you got good stories, right? Like I had to do showings with a boarded up window because my windows were like late because of the pandemic, and then it still worked out. So kind of just having that, yeah, having the right people. Like David's been awesome. My coaches have been awesome. Could we have done this alone? Probably not.
yeah,
Probably not. And then yeah. So I guess we could close by saying, or I guess talking about, would you recommend mentorship, or do you think that people can get into it without mentorship?
yeah. So I'll give my own transparent opinion on sort of how I feel about mentorship. I absolutely believe that you should be finding a mentor, whether that mentor presents himself or herself in a way where there's a program that you would have to buy, or maybe like there's some sort of like financial, there's finances that are involved in that, whether it's that or it's giving up your time to be this person's assistant or help them in any way just to gain whatever information that you're seeking or guidance. At least I think that it's totally necessary, especially when you're wanting to scale like to the next level, right? So just to put it into context, when I was first on like getting into the game, the first guy I met, he was a realtor, and I was really sort of trying to pick out the people that are going to be a part of my power team. The first realtor I met, he said he was a realtor for like 10 years, and he said that he owned 3 rentals. And at the time I was like, wow, 3 rental properties, that's like pretty good, right? And then so him and I didn't really fit, I guess. And then the second guy who I actually ended up buying my first house from, he had 8, right? And then I'm thinking, oh wow, 8, that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? And then after that, I met a person who had 14, and then another guy who had 31, and they were partners. This is going back to whatever. And so I ended up, when I heard 14, I was like, holy smokes, like that's a lot, never mind 31. Right. So yeah, I definitely think that it's necessary to find people that are much further ahead than you to help plan, to help sort of guide you in terms of making decisions on whether or not a deal is good, at least at first, until you understand their systems. But otherwise, yeah, I totally would recommend getting a mentor for sure.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp. Mostly, I mean, I work with Teammade Real Estate now as like a coach myself. And even my mentor mentioned this, how in the beginning you want to give everyone this stuff for free. It's like, oh, like real estate can literally change your life. Like that first deal, and then once you figure out how to raise capital, then you can just pretty much just run with it. However, by giving it out for free, I've also noticed this, and I kind of didn't listen to my mentor, Nelson Camp, when he was saying that when he was giving stuff out for free, that people wouldn't really do anything or kind of respect the value that you're doing. And I kind of learned this the hard way, where I was like, in the beginning, I was giving kind of this real estate info for free. And then almost everyone I gave it for free hasn't really done anything. Like no action really taken. And it's just because there's like less skin in the game, right? Like when you pay a couple $1,000s for mentorship, now you're committed. Now you know you need to get that deal done. And a couple $1,000s might seem a lot in the beginning, but once you do a couple deals and you realize, oh, if you can get that money back in one deal, maybe it's even one wholesale, like you don't even have to like keep the property. And you can kind of just learn from that mentor who's basically like you get a bat phone that if you run into issues, you just call this person. I think though, if you're someone that, let's say, you're a little bit more stubborn or maybe you want to learn on your own, like that's okay too. Like you can find other mentors out there that probably won't charge you money. And that's fine. And maybe you're going to do like a deal every couple of years. Just depends on what your goals are. Like I'd say if you're in a position where you really want to go fast, set yourself up, and then just get to a point where you can sit back and you've already have all the knowledge and all the experience in real estate, a mentor will definitely be able to kind of catapult you forward. But there is also nothing wrong with going a little bit slower. Everyone's got their different goals, I guess. But for people like you and I, where we really want to get things done sooner than later, set ourselves up for a future, and then like do stuff for like family so we can have that financial freedom, I would say like a mentor is 100% recommended. Like, you just get a lot faster.
Yeah. I guess I never really got to touch on like if you didn't decide to get a mentor. Yeah, I think you could definitely learn probably the same thing that the guy would end up learning. Like if he did pay for mentorship or whatever it is, found a mentor. Going on your own just means going slow, I think.
Yeah.
Taking a little bit more time, having to find out, maybe make some mistakes, and then that's your kind of the cost associated with not getting one, because you don't see things coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what I have to say about that.
Sweet. Well, that was a pretty sick interview. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we'll do another one next couple weeks or so, and then hopefully these little interviews and this podcast will offer some value to some people.
100%, man.
Sweet. So I guess we're both gonna go do some real estate stuff after this.
Yeah, I gotta go look at some deals right now.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I gotta send David some like keys to do a showing at that place. Sweet. Okay, well, I'll see you later, bro.
Later, bro.
Peace. Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.